Hey, so I thought I'd do a two-in-one breakdown here. I really want to show when it's important with the Darce choke, when to slide and when to gator roll. All right, when to stay down on your side and when to roll. So we're going to break down two Kade Ruotolo Darces here, one on Ethan Krellinston and one on Gabriel Souza. So on this first one, right, actually, let me do the first one here with Gabriel. So we'll do the whole sequence leading up to it because I think the pass is really interesting too. So Kade runs around north-south here. And then this cooking from north-south really forces the person on bottom to wrestle up. So when they wrestle up, really opens up the opportunity for that front headlock, right? Kade is going to go behind. Gabriel does an excellent job regarding. And Kade is going to have to run around north-south to cook again. Now, boom, right here, that was really cool how he holds that left arm to slow down that turtle and keep Gabriel opened up a little bit here. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can let this whole thing just play through without pausing it. I might get a little copyright thing that's happened to me a couple times this week, so apologies if I pause it some. I think Kade is going to actually get this from both arms behind the armpits instead of like a classic front headlock, which is pretty cool if you can Darce with both arms. If you can't, you may want to pick the side that you're better at. But he's behind with both arms. Okay, not yet. Now he's behind with both arms. Almost like he's going to go into like a high ground position to attack the crucifix. So he's going to slide to catch the Darce. Right. Boom, right here. Right, so Kade has long enough arms to punch this all the way without having to. He's falling to his hip, but some people will go palm to palm and try to break the other person down, or you can go palm to palm and slide to this hip. But if you have long enough arms, you can just catch it. So Kade usually likes to slide to his hip, and I think that that's necessary for most people. But really, what I want to look at here is when to gator roll over the top or when to not, right? So Gabriel here is down on both knees here. His head is in the pocket, as I like to call it. It's nice and low under the armpit, kind of against the chest. And if Gabriel were to stay right here, Kade would just walk his hips clockwise towards Gabriel's hips here. You'd probably see Gabriel drop down to a hip. The head would stay low in the pocket, and the finish would happen right there, right? So if they stay still on the knees, we don't try to gator roll them overhead. But what you're going to see here is Gabriel flattens out, and boom, right here, Gabriel goes chest up. Now, it may look like Kade rolled Gabriel, but that didn't happen. Gabriel actually initiated that movement there. So right now, Gabriel, he's got a big chest. I call this the reverse skydiver position. Gabriel's chest is facing the ceiling. He's got his arm extended here. He's trying to open space between his shoulder and the side of his neck. And if Kade were to stay on his hip, like he was, that would get really difficult. He's getting pressure put on his face, and then eventually Gabriel is going to have room to take this arm and skip it across the body, and Kade could maybe end up in bottom position. So Kade is already feeling this and starting to go into like a backwards roll where he's just going to look to his left and just kind of pick his hips up, and it's going to pull him here into a roll. So now he can finish from top position. Now, I really like to finish by stepping over the body to full mount or pulling guard, but Kade goes for like the Hoffa Mendez right there. So Hoffa with his anaconda chokes and his Darce chokes, he would take his outside top leg and step over the arm like this, and by bringing it down, it sort of crushes it in and it rolls their shoulder into the side of their neck. You do lose leg control, but it gets a lot of compression up here. So Gabriel's still fighting that. I think it's really important to notice here how high up Kade's elbow is. He's not over penetrating with the Darce, right? If this elbow was like super deep down here, the sharp part of Kade's wrist would be like choking the back of Gabriel's neck here and just crushing the spine, which you don't really want, right? You don't want to over penetrate. So he's got it shallow so that the soft part of Gabriel's neck is on the sharp part of the wrist. And you can see that really well, like right here. You can see that the sharp part of Kade's wrist is into the fleshy part of the carotids up front here. And I think Gabriel's going to tap. Yeah. So I want to show the opposite of this real quick. So against Ethan Krellenston, you can see the total opposite. So boom, it's similar entry, kind of an underhook there by Ethan. Kade slides into the Darce, and Ethan's trying to get his arm across the body, but instead of bringing his back to the floor and trying to get his back like on top of Kade's face here, Ethan does the opposite and tries to base out. So Ethan is trying to, flatten Kade out and drive across, which is another, very good defensive strategy. But you see, when Ethan's here on the knees, Kade's not going to try to roll. In fact, if you try to roll somebody when they're on the knees, it's not usually going to work out that well for you, and I'll explain why here. So it looks like a lot of people with this sliding Darce, people think that Kade is like on his back, but he's really not. Kade's on his side. He's on his hip right here. And Ethan's on the knees, based out. Now, I see a lot of people here, if they were in Kade's position, they would try to do that roll that we saw against Gabriel. They would try to go back flat to the mat and gator roll Ethan like away from the camera. And that actually opens up a lot of space for Ethan to get this trapped arm across the body and trap Kade in like a bottom north-south position. So as long as Kade is on his side here, kind of walking towards the feet, that's a wall, and that wall is hard to climb that arm over. And you could even see Ethan's using his free arm to try to push his trapped arm across. But as long as Kade doesn't give in to that gator roll and stays on his side right here, he's got the dominant position, even though he sacrificed his base. And still, you're going to see not too much over penetration, right? The elbow's nice and low. The wrist is right behind the neck. The thumb's right behind the neck. Rule of thumb, wrist on the carotid. And you're going to see a tap right there. So I just wanted to go over those two Darces and just explain why it's not a good idea to gator roll somebody when they are based out on their knees when you are trying to finish a Darce choke.